Today we're going to cover how to currency trade and how to trade Forex and gold during global economic crisis, pandemics, and whatever else the market throws our way. There is a powerful and specific way to do this, and I'm going to demonstrate this in the last part of this video. So let's get started right now. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to make sure that you are updated on all of my latest videos. Right now, trading political events and other unscheduled news events is exactly how we have to trade to get profit in today's current market conditions. By the end of this video, I'm going to reveal a very powerful high-level NLP practice and a type of activation of the unconscious mind, a kind of esoteric trading practice that a lot of people will not be able to accept. If you don't have an open mind and an affinity for learning powerful trading practices like this type, the type that could activate the unconscious mind to assist you in being able to trade far beyond anything that would ever work using the normal limited mind, well, you might want to just head on out the door and go watch something else, because this will actually activate a type of skill that the normal limited mind would never be able to achieve. You will be able to view the market in a new way, to see the market in its true state. And you'll be able to enter and exit trades in a way that is more natural and harmonious without some of the resistance that you may have been feeling inside before. Since today's market has kind of been distorted by forces that are a little less normal, a little less natural, the market isn't actually waiting for normal scheduled economic news events like we used to for GDP, PPI, NFP, these kinds of things. These things now just kind of come and go. That's not what the market is really waiting for. Should we continue to have more fear and continue to have some of this risk-off sentiment? Or should there be some reason to have hope that maybe we could have some risk-on sentiment for investing? Okay, so maybe you have noticed that what's affecting the market are things that are not normal and not the usual kind of natural things that unscheduled news data usually provides to us back in the day. We're seeing that what's affecting the market is sometimes questionable news. Like this news came out one time. Pfizer announces a new vaccine. And in the news, it says they're all ready to go and it's ready to ship. There could be millions of doses ready to ship, FDA approved and everything. And I noticed that when this news came out, it was 2 days later that the news said that the UK was ready to move forward with ordering that vaccine and would be administering it the next week. And I think since then they changed the vaccine that they decided on, but the whole thing seems about as believable as Santa Claus decided that the elves are going to contribute to making vaccines this year. And when this news came out, gold took a big dive down. I'm assuming that that means risk-on sentiment, where the stock market is more likely to go up and gold go down during those periods of time. So you can see that day, that was the news on all the mainstream news sites, and that's when gold went down. There was also some risk-on sentiment that seems to be associated with the election of Joe Biden as president of the United States. Meanwhile, if you follow the news outside of the mainstream, you may hear that something else is about to happen. So consider what it would be like to have a more natural and harmonious relationship with this fascinating, mysterious being, this living being we call the financial market. How does general uncertainty display itself on charts? In my previous videos, I demonstrated how at the very beginning of this pandemic, the market moved itself into a normal period of uncertainty, and it began to display the pattern of uncertainty, which is triangles and series of three-wave patterns. So when market anomalies and uncertainty are seen in the market, just consider, how does it affect you if you have a discussion with someone about politics? This could give us insight into the nature and the psychology behind what's going on and what's displayed on the charts. You might notice how discussing politics seems to affect everyone. So follow along and you're about to have a breakthrough. We're going to imagine the market to be a living person that we can have a relationship with and to gain more insight into the behavior of this person. I have discovered through all of my own research and practice about transforming the mind that the unconscious mind can best be accessed through the medium of symbols and stories. We are taught through mythology, through visualization, through emotions, and through sound and language. Well, consider this. Have you had a discussion about politics lately? And if you did, what was the result of that discussion? I can tell you right now, the result of the discussion was that you felt more stress, and the other person felt more stress. And it has been scientifically proven that stress is the thing that causes people to not be able to make good trading decisions. If you're not aware of that basic fact, I can refer you to things like, just besides Mark Douglas and Trading in the Zone, there has been research into the field of neuroscience that you can read the results of. And there's a book called Money and Your Brain by Jason Zweig, and The Hour Between Dog and Wolf by John Coates. And in addition to that, what about the Stanley Druckenmiller sponsored neuroscience department of New York University? Have you contacted New York University and asked them how you can learn more about how the human brain responds to making decisions in trading, and what's the thing that makes it work better and what's the thing that makes it not work as good? Because I think they have some research on that, which is incidentally why I have put so much emphasis on ways of eliminating stress and anxiety as a big part of how you can trade at your optimum peak performance level. Okay, here's another important aspect of that. I have discovered through my own experience that discussing politics or religion is always a completely useless activity. It never has any positive result whatsoever. So nevertheless, we're about to get to the secret of how to get better results in trading political events. Okay, have you ever engaged in an argument about religion or politics? And what was the result again? At the end of this discussion, did you or the other person say, "Oh, thank you so much. Now I understand. I'm going to go down and just convert to your religion right now. And thank you so much for sharing that with me"? No, that has never happened. It won't ever happen, because these are things that are controlled by our core beliefs, and people associate those with identity. Have you noticed that when people discuss politics, they are defending their identity? Like, I could think, well, I might agree with some aspects of this political party and some aspects of this political party, but neither one of those are my identity. That's not my identity. When people defend their view, is because it's attached to their identity level belief. So expanding your mind to see, first of all, like you're talking to another person, you could realize we are one. We are one. That's a fact. You have one idea, I have another idea, and that's great. And when you're involved in discussing these things, the result will be a feeling of more stress, anxiety, stress, anger. These are the things that will come up in your body, in your mind, and then that's the very thing that will cause you to not be able to trade. So at the end of the discussion, both parties will probably feel bad, they will hate each other, and if you have any sense of human decency, you might feel regret for having offended the other person. But if not, so when you look at the result of political conflict, how does that affect the financial market? It might affect it in a similar way to it affects you and I, causing us to have more stress, which causes us to not be able to make wise trading decisions, which tends to cause chaos or at least uncertainty, which then uncertainty causes the market to move into consolidation. So when the market is in a state of harmony and agreement, how does that display on a chart? That's what forms trends. Remember the trends of years gone by. That was when the entire market agreed that's the direction the market is going. And everyone agrees for that period of time. Then when there is uncertainty, uncertainty is displayed on charts as corrections, consolidations, and often triangles and three-way patterns. And notice, during all of this time, it seems like gold against the dollar and gold against other currencies, for instance, has been in this period of uncertainty. And yet, look at the end result of how perfect the pattern is that gold has been forming. And is it possible that we could be successfully trading gold all throughout this period of time? Not only is it possible, a person who understands market behavior, the psychology of the market, and how that is displayed on charts can really increase the probability of having winning trades throughout the entire time. So let's now begin the process and the method for how you can increase your winning trades. The financial market is a living entity, and it's a collection of thought forms. Thoughts have forms. The idea that thoughts are things is something that's not really new, but has been around in New Thought movements since Prentice Mulford's book, Thoughts Are Things. Thoughts Are Things is also a quote from Napoleon Hill, the author of Think and Grow Rich. You can also read more about the idea of thought forms in the book by Charles Leadbeater called Thought Forms. He gives a little more esoteric theosophical view of what thought forms are. And incidentally, Leadbeater was a proponent of the idea that every person should have complete liberty and freedom in the area of religious dogma. When a thought form is charged with the spirit of a group of people, it is sometimes called in esoteric language an egregore. Or we could call it a collective thought form, a collective consciousness, or a collective soul, which is exactly what a financial market is. That's why I say that it's a living entity, because you take all of the thoughts and emotions of all the people that are involved, and it creates this one thing called the financial market. So from a practical point of view, how can we change our results? There is a very advanced practice in NLP known as aligning perceptual positions. This is a practice that might be automatically done by more intelligent people, but it is something that definitely can be practiced and refined. And that is the practice of seeing every relationship from more than one point of view. So if you are in a relationship with this being called the financial market, you could see this relationship from your own eyes, looking at the other person, which is the financial market. You can be looking at charts, and you are here, you're looking at charts, but you might also consider how it looks from the other person's point of view. How does it look from the point of view of the market looking back at you? Just consider it sometime, and this is an actual practice that you can do as a type of meditation. And then a third perceptual position would be to look at the two of you from the point of view of an outside observer. Now, when you actually practice this, not just hear the words that I'm saying, say, okay, now I get that, but when you actually practice it and you do this practice, NLP practitioners have discovered that you can actually notice if any of the alignments of yourself need to be adjusted, like the alignment of where do you see the market from? And if you're the market, where does it see you from? And then where do you hear the market if the market is talking to you? And if you're talking to the market, normally this is with normal people, you would just notice, where does the sound originate from? Where does it receive at? So these things can be aligned and centered. And when you center your perceptual positions, it actually can change your results. Besides the fact that just the very concept of having these three different positions expands your consciousness to a degree that your subconscious mind can get the message that you can see things from a larger perspective. Now, your unconscious mind will pick this up after practicing it, and it will begin to see things from a larger perspective. Instead of just your own limited mind, you'll be able to see things from the point of view of the whole world and of all the market together. And maybe you can also learn to feel and sense and see and hear what the market is doing from this larger perspective. And this is not just a cute metaphor thing. It's an actual way of expanding your consciousness of how to trade the financial market. And this can change your results to such an amazing degree that I hesitate to even put this information out there to the general public, because it probably should be reserved for just a few people who are willing to practice this and have a legitimate reason why they're practicing this. Ironically, in some of the discussions that I've had recently, it was brought to my attention that with all the conflict in the world, one of the main things that people need is more empathy. And I have noticed that the practice of aligning perceptual positions is a way of enhancing the brain function that we know of as empathy. You might think, well, some people have empathy and some people don't. Well, it could be that it is a brain function. It is a function of evolution of humans' brains. The more evolved a person is, the more empathy and the more compassion that they have, in spite of what anyone else might tell you, that sometimes it seems that people who are in control have less empathy, and they believe that to be a strength, when actually it's an indication of a lower form of evolution. More evolved people naturally are more sensitive to the thoughts and feelings of other people in their environment. More primitive, unevolved people have no capacity to even understand or be aware of anything of what other people are thinking and feeling. And that's why they do things that seem obnoxious, like come into a room and just start talking about your political view, just thinking that everyone else needs to know your view, and assuming that everyone else would agree with your view. Now, there's a link in the description where you can download a guided meditation that activates this process to the highest level, so that by doing this practice, you will actually gain a skill and improve your results in trading by being more in harmony with the natural forces that the market is, and by being able to let go of all the resistance that you may have felt before with all this tension between you and the market, and by making it clear to your unconscious mind that you are a friend of the market and that you and the market can live in harmony and help each other in a way that is best for everyone involved. So click on the link below and you can download that audio right now and start practicing it, and let me know how that goes in the future. Now, I've made another video about this subject. You can watch that right over here.